Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining this live stream for our event about innovation cultures in France, Germany, and in the USA. Today, we want to give you some insights about the startup cultures, show you the differences there are, and also give a little bit of advice maybe for people who are thinking about founding a startup in one of these countries. We will have two parts. In the first part, our 5 experts will give you a short overview of the situation in the country or in the region, and also mention some concrete differences with examples. And in the second part, our experts will answer some questions you can ask in the Slido chat we created and dedicated for this event. Before we start, we would like to present our speakers shortly. We will begin with Fabian Heil, who is educational lead at Must Summit in Munich. Then we will move on with Nicolas Vermersch, who is a managing partner at 3C Career Consulting agency and also a board member of La French Tech Munich. Welcome, Nicolas.
Thank you.
Then we will have Marcus van Tilburg.
Yes, and Marcus van Tilburg, he is the representative for Fairfax County for people who would like to invest or companies who would like to invest in Fairfax County. He's also the managing director of Global Aldea, and I'm sure you will be able to tell us a little bit more about your work in a second. And I'm excited to hear about what industries are located in Fairfax County, what opportunities are there for people who are innovative and are looking for the right spot where to basically promote their projects. So thank you, Marcus van Tilburg, for being with us tonight, and I'm looking forward to your input in a couple of minutes.
We will then move on with Thomas Houy, who is assistant professor in entrepreneurship at Télécom Paris. Bonsoir. You will be able to give us an overview for the French side, of course, and we are really looking forward to it. And last but not least, we will have Susanne Gellert.
And Susanne Gellert is here with us from the German-American Chamber of Commerce in New York. She is the vice president of the German-American Chamber of Commerce in New York. And I'm really excited that we have such a high-profile names with us tonight who can actually talk a little bit more about as I already said, Marcus van Tilburg is responsible for Fairfax County, and Susanne Gellert also has a regional, as if I'm remembering correctly, has a regional aspect to it, but it's mostly the eastern part, northeastern part of the USA, if that's correct. And she will also tell us a little bit about numbers and things you need to know if you want to go to the United States and get started as an entrepreneur. So thank you for being with us, Susanne Gellert. And I think since we have the introductions behind us, we can jump right in and let's start with Fabian Heil. Thank you for being with us tonight, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I hope my microphone is working. Just need to check this out. Okay, thanks, great. Okay, hi everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and to have this opportunity to present to you the Munich innovation ecosystem in a nutshell, let's say. Also, I'd like to introduce you to the MUST initiative and our latest project. So as you've heard already, my name is Fabian Heil, and I represent the MUST initiative through the company MOOC Summit GmbH. More about us, the initiative, and who we are in a few minutes. First of all, I want to talk about Munich. Munich is known for its more traditional industries, especially automotive industry, but not so much for its startup landscape. This is currently changing, thanks to the founding of entrepreneurship centers at the 3 biggest universities here 20 years ago. Important steps like that helped to turn Munich into a rising hub for innovation. with successful startups and the continuously rising number of unicorns, thanks to all the effort of everyone involved. Today, Munich's innovative, open-minded and diverse community brings together international young talents, startups, established companies, and public institutions. Together, they co-create scalable innovation that strives towards the Sustainable Development Goals. This unique blend of academia, industry, and startups with stakeholders from government, science, and society offers a quite unique high-tech ecosystem in one of the world's most livable cities. This is why today Munich can present to you its own innovation ecosystem, its own unique mix that is made of the following 4 ingredients. First, Munich's talent factory that comprises of world-class universities, such as the Technical University of Munich, Ludwig-Maximilians University, the University of Applied Sciences, Bundeswehr University, and many others. This talent factory also includes tech hubs with leading research institutes, such as Fraunhofer Institute. Put them together and you have an internationalized talent community. Second ingredient, Munich is a high-tech and engineering hotspot. Thanks to many corporate HQs located here, such as BMW Group, Siemens, Allianz, Linde, Infineon, Google Europe, PwC, Intel, and other multinational world-renowned companies from various industries, and of course, their big corporate clients. This leads to successful technology startups in a variety of business industries. Third ingredient, Munich's involvement as a whole through the public sector. The city of Munich, the state of Bavaria, and the federal government of Germany are involved and further develop the already existing structures and support new projects. Thanks to this involvement, the innovation ecosystem already reaches out to even the cultural and art sector and therefore incorporates the wider population. And finally, feature number 4, Munich's already thriving startup scene. You will find in Munich many enablers, such as Werk 1, Munich Startup, or Bayern Startup, to find your way into the leading incubators and accelerators. These are all working together through direct connections into Munich's entrepreneurship centers. That is the Unternehmertum, German Entrepreneurship GmbH, Straschig Center for Entrepreneurship, and the LMU Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center. Some accelerators are already pushing into their own respective niche, as we can see with German Accelerator, Social Entrepreneurship Academy, Tech Founders, Data Lab Munich, Wave Lab, or Media Lab, to name a few. Their specializations are, for instance, to get international, to tackle sustainability challenges, or to support startups from the media or creative sector. Together, all of these partners provide the ecosystem with high-class events and curated exchange between current and future stakeholders, reaching out into the corporate startup programs that are located in Munich already, such as the Next 47, BMW Startup Garage, Weira, and others. With so many stakeholders involved and the innovation ecosystem in Munich continuously growing, it's hard to keep track as more and more stakeholders are participating. This makes the development of active connectors for the ecosystem a logical next step. These enablers connect the dots. That means huge congresses such as the Bits and Pretzels with thousands of participants, smaller events such as the 48 Forward, or ongoing initiatives such as the Must Innovation Ecosystem, and many more programs can help you to get to know Munich's innovation ecosystem. And this is what we are, the MOOC Summit GmbH, leading the MUST initiative to develop the Munich innovation ecosystem. We were founded around 2015 by the seemingly competing entrepreneurship centers, that is Straschig Center for Entrepreneurship, Unternehmertum, and German Entrepreneurship GmbH, that decided together with the city of Munich and our corporate partners that it is crucial to cooperate with each other. That gives MUST an impetus to act as a neutral player in the Munich innovation ecosystem So we are actively connecting these dots. We work as an integrator and enabler for the innovation ecosystem. We help businesses, talents, and researchers to prosper through connection, collaboration, and support. So it's our task to inspire collaboration and new ideas, to engage and connect all ecosystem stakeholders to accelerate innovation, to nurture new talent and relationships, and to grow entrepreneurial spirit and to support growth through regional, national, and international collaboration. The result of this kind of endeavor are various kind of projects that are supposed to help the development within the ecosystem by targeting specific needs. Our current biggest one is AI plus Munich, so artificial intelligence plus Munich. This is a joint project of Strategic Center for Entrepreneurship, TUM Venture Labs, and MOOC Summit, sponsored by the Federal Ministry of Economy and Climate Change. We and 3 other cities in Germany, that is Hamburg, Darmstadt, and Berlin, all with their own respective programs, are currently developing an innovation ecosystem for artificial intelligence, in our case here in Munich. That includes prototype funding for startups in a very early phase with up to 25,000 euros per startup, the orchestration to build up an AI community in Munich for co-creation and matchmaking, and finally some educational measures to reduce societal reservations about AI and build up basic knowledge about the capabilities of this horizontal technology and how it may help to tackle the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So to sum this up, in general, Munich's innovation ecosystem has made huge steps forward in the past 20 years. It's turning into a strong cooperative environment, a great place to develop your own ideas into a business, and with plenty of opportunities to get in touch with those people that can help you with your efforts, be it in Munich, the national or international level. So this is basically the takeaways for startups, I guess. If you want to found in Munich, you have an opportunity to get in touch with these accelerators and incubators that are perfect for you. You have plenty of variation there and some support of the government actually then can help you to get in touch with them, to get funding, to get early funding as well, and not just the late funding issues. So I guess thank you very much for listening. And if there are any questions coming up, don't hesitate to ask or to get in touch with me afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Fabian. It was a pleasure listening to you and learning about the Munich ecosystem. Actually, I just received a question which I thought might actually be a good idea to ask like every one of you after your short inputs, because it might fit actually for every one of you. So the question is, can you tell me like 3 elementary points why somebody should start his business here in this ecosystem here in Munich? Or with respect to, and of course you have the advantage of now you already know the question that I will ask you as well in your respective areas. So I think that would be really interesting.
Okay, and the first question is that we have this unique situation here in Munich that corporates, universities, and the local government is actually working together. You have plenty of supportive elements that tackle issues that come up within the city. For instance, Munich is quite expensive. You have the local to get a place to work is quite expensive, you think, but thanks to the involvement of the government, they are actually tackling this with cheap apartments for startups and stuff like that. So this is a really nice thing, the government being involved in the whole thing. The next one, Munich is amazing as a spot where you can grow and then jump into the world. Yeah, with the German Entrepreneurship Academy, German Entrepreneurship, for instance, they can help you to get in touch with people from the US, from Asia, where they have their own bureaus. So you have a nice opportunity from Munich to get somewhere else. And the third one is, of course, plenty of universities with lots of technological background from various fields. So a wide field of technology where you can get access to quite easily. Working spaces, so so-called maker space, where you have the opportunity to even produce robots actually within the within the whole area. So these are the three topics I just popped into my mind. Yeah, great question, by the way.
Great, thank you very much. So, will you continue?
Well, thank you very much for this input. Nicolas, Vermersch, if you're here, we would like to hear a bit about the situation in, how you see things as a member of La French Tech Munich. I think you're really in a nice position to explain the cultural differences and give us some examples maybe of what you can recommend or what could be difficult for startups.
Okay, thank you very much, Jan, for inviting me today. Thank you, and hello everyone for listening to me. So I'm Nicolas Vermersch. I'm a board member and founder of La French Tech Munich. So maybe a few words about La French Tech. So I don't know if some of you ever heard about that. La French Tech is an initiative from Emmanuel Macron during his first mandate to try to boost France as a startup country. And what is La French Tech is a platform for all the French startup scale-up over the world, meaning that we have around the world 63 French tech communities, 45 in France, and we create the French tech community in Munich last year. We have one in Berlin, and since a few days, we have one in Düsseldorf. And the goal of a French tech community is to help French entrepreneurs, this instance in Munich, to help them to launch, develop, consolidate their business in Germany and in Munich. Okay. That's the first goal of La French Tech Munich. The aim and the vision of La French Tech Munich is to consider that if we want in the future to create European champions, and I think Europe needs European champions, a company needs to have one foot in France, one foot in Germany, and then if the company is in these two countries, then the company will have the possibility to expand in Europe or, of course, outside Europe. But considering that these two countries are quite key for Europe, so from one side, we are helping French companies to establish their business in Germany. On the other side, we also help German companies to establish their business in France by opening our network, by creating collaboration, bridges with corporates, with universities, with public authorities, with this goal to create these European champions. So this is a nice part of my job. I'm also, of course, I'm not earning any kind of money with this French tech community. So my main job is to lead an executive search company in Munich, who is dedicated to the industry and the tech ecosystem in Germany. So I'm quite aware about the talent and market in Germany, which is, of course, something we should speak about, because you know, you can have the goal and the willing to launch your business, but first of all, you need the right people to do it. Regarding the good question we had, I would say why establishing a business in Munich. I think Fabian already tackled quite a few main advantages of Munich. I would give two of them. Of course, I think, as said, Europe is today living a war of talent, and Munich is, I consider, one of the most attractive cities for talent in Europe. regarding the mountains, regarding the work-life balance, regarding the security of Munich, regarding the international way of life of Munich. So, I mean, Munich is a really attractive city for tech talent in all Europe. So this is, I think, one of the biggest advantage. The second one is, as said, I think Munich gives the opportunity to have in this, let's say, small village, if we compare it to Berlin, to Paris, it's still quite tiny place. You have big OEMs, you have big corporates, but you have a strong ecosystem startup, which make connection between these different world really easy and quite quick. That's it from my side. It's quite quick, but I think we'll see some questions after that.
Thank you very much, Nicolas. I would like to ask you something up front already. What would you say is the major difficulty for a German startup when willing to expand to Paris, maybe? What's the main difficulty they encounter? Especially except the language, of course.
No, for sure. What I would say is that what I see sometimes that there's still, and you know, I don't want to find against Susanne, because the US is a great country to establish a business, but I'm often saying quite easily to a German startup, okay, why do you want to go so far? Why not first step should be to establish your business in France? Then you can test your business model with another kind of culture. And then when you will be established in these two countries, maybe the step should be to go to US. This is what I'm used to saying. France and Germany have a long story together. They are neighbors countries, but there's still a big difference of culture between the two countries. And I'm always saying, don't neglect this cultural difference. Okay. And maybe what I would like to say is, when a French guy, he has 20 IDs per day, but he's not always able to roll out this ID correctly. The German one, he has 1 ID per year, but he's really able to roll out this ID correctly. And when the two of them trust each other, listen to each other, it's a fantastic team. Okay? But of course, it's all about trust.
Thank you very much.
Does it make sense for you, Jan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, very good.
So, oops, my camera's not working properly. So, and next up would be Markus von Tilburg, and I'm excited to hear about the US context, and especially from Fairfax County and your experiences as head of Global Aldia. So I'm excited to hear from you. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Marcus, and pleasure to be here tonight with all of you. Thanks for watching. Nice to meet so many people from other markets, international markets, and yes, as Marcus said already, I'm working since around 15 years with companies that are expanding globally. Usually on one side, when I work with companies directly with Global Aldia, it's more the strategic side, the consulting side for site selection, when they're starting to look at different countries and analyze, and then go through a process of filtering down to just the last few sites where they might be setting up a production facility, and then go into negotiations with the different governments. So I understand very well how it works for bigger companies that are setting up production entities and facilities around Europe, but also in the US. And these are also two different approaches. So this is the one perspective where I'm coming from with Global Aldia. And on the other hand, I'm also working with governments, and since already more than 7 years, I'm representing Fairfax County in Europe, in continental Europe. Which is also quite unique. You might encounter many states that have representatives over here, including the state of Virginia, where Fairfax County is part of. But Fairfax County is, I think, one of the richest counties in the US, which is one point why they have their own rep in Europe. But it's also one of the most innovative areas in the US, which many people are not really aware of. And that's also why they needed a special office in Europe to have somebody bring out the message and create awareness about it. Because usually when I have an audience that is sitting around and I ask them, have you been to Fairfax County? And it's like one person maybe raising their hand. Then I asked, like, have you been to Washington Dulles Airport? And then like everybody is raising his hand. And I said, okay, well, you've been to Fairfax County, and they didn't even know. So it's always important for me to bring the location actually on the map. And now, since we have the new metro, which is going from Washington Dulles to Washington, D.C., you get a perfect ride through the northern part of Fairfax County. And when you look out of the metro window, you will see all these famous names, Amazon Web Services, you will see Google, you will see Microsoft, you will see Leidos, and so on. And that has quite a long history in that area, because before, when you speak with people that have been growing up in that area and that are like 50, 60 years old, this was just green fields and there were cows and nothing else. And now it's one of the most upcoming areas for tech companies. So population is growing over there as well. The area has 1.1 million inhabitants, just to give a number to that. It's the northern part of Virginia, as I said. It's just across the Potomac River when you go to Washington, D.C. But it has over 8,800 technology firms and companies in that area. So that is something for a region that has just 1.1 million inhabitants, a huge number. And we have 450 international companies in that area. And that includes small companies and larger companies. So that these are just some figures to start off talking about Fairfax County. But when it's more about looking at the US, to go one step back in that process, you have 50 different states. And you really must say that every state is working like an own country. So they have their own laws, they have their own regulations, they have their own sales taxes, they have their own systems for registering some types of services. So it's really like when you start looking at the US, you start looking at 50 countries. So it's not that easy. And as Nicolas said the right way before, for the most European startups, they try to get a good footprint in Europe to get settled in the biggest markets over here, which is the DACH region, like Germany, Austria, Switzerland. And then the next step usually is France, and then it's the UK. And then when you're done with that, you look into the US. That is sort of like the typical approach we see with companies when they go to the US. And then in the US, many of them, they have heard about Silicon Valley, which is a great place, many technologies, companies, many tech companies. But then you also have New York, which obviously is a great place for certain types of companies. You hear about Boston when it's about medtech. But there's much more, and it really depends what your company is actually focusing on, which type of business, where you need to do your homework to understand where your opportunity might be. And not for everyone, Silicon Valley is the best. Not for everybody, Fairfax County is the best, and not for everybody, New York is the best. So in Fairfax County, I would say the difference between the other locations is that we are more business to business and business to government focused. As when you go to Silicon Valley, there's a lot of business to customer. So there's a lot of government contracting going on in Fairfax County, obviously, because of the different institutions that are over there that have a huge budget that they're spending yearly and securely. And there's like lots of the big companies from military, from Lockheed Martin, but there's also Hilton Worldwide. From Europe, Volkswagen, they don't have a production facility in Fairfax County, but they have their US headquarters in Fairfax County. And it's also Audi, and all the branches are over there. Same for Airbus. They do have their US headquarters in Fairfax County and operate from there. So there's a reason why the big names are there, but there's also a big reason to be as a small business close to them, because there's a lot of subcontracting, especially when it's about new technologies and new ideas and new solutions. And then the bigger companies are looking into smaller companies that might be helpful with these ideas. And then there's a lot of trickling down of the money that comes from the government into those businesses as well. So I think these are just a few aspects about Fairfax County and what it is. The main sectors, obviously, is one of them is cybersecurity, which is huge in Fairfax County, and that has to do with the history. I always think that I sound a little bit silly when I say like the internet was invented in Fairfax County, but it literally was, because the first email was actually sent within Fairfax County, because there was the first fiber network where actually the military was testing sending emails and things like that. And that is kind of like the history of the area, because it's coming from mobile technology and telecommunications before, and then it evolved into internet and communications and cybersecurity, which includes now AI and big data. So there's Amazon Web Services as a huge employer in Fairfax County. Then we have the benefit, I think around Northern Virginia area, there's like 75% of the internet traffic worldwide is going through that area. I'm not going to say why, but there's like next door there's another county which is Loudoun, which is Data Center Alley, and this is where most of the data centers in the US are located actually. And that is something where the whole Northern Virginia area, which is also called the Nova area, is actually benefiting from as well. So there's a lot of data mining, data processing, and AI, and cybersecurity, of course, not only because of the government, but there's also German investments from companies like Deutsche Bank that have like a place in Fairfax County to develop their infrastructure for security. And that has a reason, because they can find specialists in that area that you cannot find anywhere else in the world, and that is a big plus. They might not be the cheapest persons to work with, but they're the only ones that can do a certain job, and you can find them in Fairfax County. And that brings also the focus a little bit on talent. So you really in Fairfax County, we have to focus a lot on talent, and especially on IT talent, and you can find them over there. But not only that, also Fairfax County, the Economic Development Authority that I work for, they're having a program to attract talent to the area with all of the major US universities. And what they do is they collect the job openings of the companies that are placed in Fairfax County and go throughout all of the universities and have recruiting events and helping them to find the right people, and that is working quite well. So Fairfax County is continuously growing, and it's also enormously attractive to younger people, because it's a top-notch location, but it's not as expensive as this Silicon Valley, and is also not as expensive as New York. But you have an attractive location where you've got a lot of career opportunities. And on one hand, on the other hand, in Virginia, there's also a lot of, you're close to the ocean, it's a lot warmer already. So there's also some benefits from the leisure point of view that you can get in Fairfax County. So it's a nice location. And then I think coming back to cybersecurity, 18 of the 25 top cybersecurity firms in the US are actually based in the Washington, DC area in Fairfax County. So I think that number, that speaks for itself. And when we talk about technology, 1 in 4 jobs is a technology related job that we do have in Fairfax County. So the area is really open for tech businesses. And I've been speaking a lot about like the bigger names of companies. There's also one other big player from Germany in Fairfax County, which is Software AG. And I think that is an interesting story to tell, because they had a solution already developed in Germany, but they already went in the 80s to Fairfax County and actually promoted their software and their solutions from the US, because during that time you had Microsoft and all these big software companies actually from the US with their big names. So for them, actually, they grew through the US and then also in Germany and Europe big, because they had that American touch to it then. And it's a nice story to tell, because before I said, like, usually companies here, they start with Europe and then they go to the US, but in that case, it was like the other way around. Software AG actually, they grew big through their US dependence and then came back to Europe and grew big here too, which is also quite interesting story. And then, so I also last year worked with another company from the Netherlands, and they just started with like 3 people in Fairfax in Reston, close to the airport, and now they're like 55 people working, and they're still growing and they're doing well. And it's an AI company from the Netherlands. And so this is also one of the stories, I think, which is important for the US. If you want to do business in the US, you first, I think, need to understand what your product is. You need to analyze the market and see where is a good niche for you, which is the right geography to do business. And then when you get started in the US, it's important to register. So I think your best friends in the US is going to be a lawyer and a tax advisor at the beginning. When you've got good friends with them, you can get started. And then when you have registered your company, I think that's a most important step, that you appear American as well and that you can sell on the American market. That is one of the most important things in the US, because Americans still prefer buying American, and it's from regulatory framework and other things, it's a lot easier for Americans to deal with American companies than with a European company. So that is important. And I think important question that's probably coming up is the cost. It doesn't need to be expensive. So in Fairfax County, there are also accelerator programs. We have a smart city accelerator. We also have a cybersecurity accelerator program that can be interesting. But also when you want to start small, you can get a shared office place. You can register your company for a few $1,000s. You can even do that in Delaware if you want to, so there's nothing shady about it. And then you can set up your office in Fairfax County, and you can get a shared office place where at first you might just be renting a post box or something like that, and a person that will put your phones through to Europe. But it's a way to start and to appear American. And then when you see that you're testing the market and you're doing well, you can get people into that shared office, and the major investment will come with the first salesperson that you will engage in the US, and you will see that the pricing for these types of people is much higher in the US than in Europe. But you will also understand fast, if you get the right person, you can grow fast in the US and you can make money, and there's a lot of opportunity. So I think this is like the easiest way to tap with not too much money into the US market. Either play for one of the accelerators, there are many, and the other way is to just get a shared office for starting with, and then see how it's going. And then there is a lot of help that you can actually approach. It's similar like in the Munich area. There's entities like us, like the Economic Development Authority of Fairfax County. We are providing services for free, actually, because we want to have companies being successful in our area. We want them to employ a lot of people, and then we want to pay them tax, and that's our return of investment. So we are basically taking very good care of all of the companies in our area, because when they are happy, we're happy, we get paid, and the ecosystem keeps growing. And that is sort of like what we are working on in Fairfax County. And that's also on the state level, the state of Virginia with VDP, and that's also even with Select USA now on a national level. So there's a lot of help also from the US that you can get information for free and that you can tap into. So when you're watching this and you're having questions, so feel free to reach out to me, and we are happy to help you to get your first foothold in the US and explain a little bit how it could work and listen to you. Well, I think this is 10 minutes, so I'm not really sure, but thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Marcus. And if I may, also just a quick question. I mean, you basically already answered the question that I asked Fabian and Nicolas before. So, but actually, a question that I received actually before the event by somebody who was interested in the event. He asked. He said that in the US, there seems to be like an innovation mindset, that people are generally more willing to risk something, like on both ends, both on the consumer end, but also in the investor end. So it might be a little bit easier to find necessary funding for your project, to find venture capital or something like that. I'm sure that Ms. Gellert can also tell us a little bit about that mindset, if it actually exists. So, but maybe first back to you, Marcus.
Yeah, great questions. And absolutely. So you might hear a lot more often in the US, great idea. I'm into it. And that doesn't always mean like that it's really a great idea and that people are into it. So there's a lot more enthusiasm, but it's also a little bit of a cultural gap for a German, because we're usually not that outgoing. So so you have to understand when it's real or not. And then I think in general, there's I think this is it's not new to people, but the fear of failure is less in the US, and the understanding and the way of dealing with failure is also different. So it's normal to fail, and it's an important thing to do in order to learn and to actually be successful. That is how they see it in the US. I think this is one of the main differences. And then yeah, so I think this is a difference of the mindset in general. But on the other hand, also there is more venture capital, and there's more business angels and things like that. But there's also more other companies that are competing for that and that have great ideas. So the thing is, it sounds really promising. It might be easier, but it's also, you need to make your case. You need to have a good business case. Investors need to understand that. And they need to see, is there a fit for the US market for your product and things like that. So it's not like that you go over there and get money and can do whatever you want to do. So it might be a little bit easier, but still you need a good concept, you need a proof of concept, and you need to transport that message to the investor as well. And then when you're from Europe, I think there's like a different burden, because you're European. You need to make the case why you as a European want to sell something in the US that the US cannot make themselves. So I think that is also one of the things that you have to consider.
And thanks for the very honest question. I think that's really important. It's not always rags to riches. Okay, yeah.
Thank you very much, Marcus. Yeah, we are now really, really curious about the ecosystem in Paris. After this overview about the Fairfax County. Well, because I'm French, I know that things are quite centralized in France. So I guess the main, the biggest place, or the first place where you need to go would be Paris, but maybe Thomas can tell us more about it now.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Jan. So if you are French, you can help me during my presentation. So feel free to interrupt me and to add some inputs about the French ecosystem. So just a few information about me. I'm a teacher and I'm a researcher. So I used to be an entrepreneur. I launched 2 ventures, but it was a long time ago. So now I'm a teacher. And so just if you ask me what I think about the French entrepreneurial ecosystem, I would say I have 2 good news and 2 bad news. So first, maybe I just have a slide. If you want, I can share my slide. If you can see it, just because I have some quotes and it's maybe more comfortable to read it. So the first good news I think about the French ecosystem is that we have now a better knowledge about how to create a company. I mean, we do that very differently now from 10 or 15 years ago. Let me just give you some example of that. I don't know who is the owner of this quote that is fake it until you make it, but if you launched a venture like 10 years ago, maybe you would spend a lot of money, a lot of time to create your solution, to produce your service or your good. And after that, you will do your go-to-market. And of course, in terms of innovation, you have two risks. The first one is what we call the execution risk. It means that you pretend to do something, but you are not able to do that. And the solution is the prototype. So I don't want to speak about this risk, but the second one is the no-go from the market. I don't know if we can say that. The no-go from the market is that the willingness to pay is very weak. And if you observe that after having spent a lot of money and a lot of time, you waste a lot of money and a lot of time. So now in the French culture, innovation culture, we know that. And of course, we faked it until we make it. Second switch in terms of best practices. Now we know, so this is a quote from Edward Deming, and Edward Deming said, "In God we trust, all others bring data." Or it means that before, when we launched a venture, we were in a game of belief. So we did that because we believed that. And now it's not the case any longer, because now if we want to launch something, we want proof. So we do something because we know we have proof that it's a good idea. So this is a very important switch, and all the VCs have this quote in mind. It means that I'm not investing in your company because I think it's a good idea, because I don't want to be emotionally attracted by your idea. I just want proof, and proof is data. Proof is a product market fit. Proof is very different from belief. Now we know, we know as well in terms of best practices that this is a quote from Antoine Saint-Exupéry, and the quote is, "Perfection is rich, not when you have nothing to add, but when you have nothing to remove." So I think it's a very important sentence from Antoine Saint-Exupéry, and it means in terms of entrepreneurship that before, I mean 10 years ago, we thought that the entrepreneurship game was to add value. But now we know that we are not in an engineering mindset where we want to catch all the use cases and we add features. And of course, we know that entrepreneurship is remove features to be on the core value of what you're expecting to sell. So it means that user experience is way more important than objective performance of devices. It means that user experience is invented, designers are very important, and I think it's the best practice we learned during the last decade. And there is a quote from, I don't remember the name of this is the founder of LinkedIn, Reid Hoffman, and he said, if you are proud about the product you launch, it's probably because you launched too late. It means that, of course, in terms of entrepreneurship, you have to launch ugly babies and something that you're not proud about. But it's very important, because if you do that, you're not spending a lot of time and a lot of money. And spending a lot of money, it's not that important, because money, you can replace money, but you cannot replace time. So it's very, very, very important not to waste time. So now we know that, and we try to apply this rule. And there is a quote from Paul Graham, who is the founder of the Y Combinator in the Valley. And he said something very provocative. He said, do things that don't scale. So of course, when you launch a venture, you want to make your solution scalable. But of course, if you think too early with the scalability of your solution, probably you will miss the step one, because scalability is step two, and step one is to solve a problem. So this is what we learned during the last decade. It's now we know that entrepreneurship is not a question of solution, it's a question of problem. So entrepreneurship is pulled by the problems and not the solution. So we have an engineering mindset in France a lot, and this is difficult for an engineer to accept that, because of course we are too much focused on the solution and not too much by the problems. So this is the second good news, because now in France we are more well, we are better than 10 years ago in terms of problem solving, because 10 years ago we were great problem designer. A problem designer is thinking about problems. Is good to formalize problem. Is good to do PowerPoints and Excel. But now we have a joke, and the joke is, you know, one of the most powerful tool to create literature or poetry is PowerPoint and Excel. So we know that we don't need too much analytical skills. We need some other skills, other set of skills like creativity, like doing things frugal and being effectual. I don't know if I have to explain what effectuation is, but just let me explain that. This is a very important concept from Sarah Sarasvati. So Sarah Sarasvati was the PhD candidate, and the supervisor of the PhD was Herbert Simon, who was a Nobel Prize in economics. And the concept of effectuation is very important. Before, when you wanted to innovate, you were like trying to define a goal, and you said, okay, I want to go there. And after that, you were in a situation to mobilize resources to try to reach this goal. If you do that, you are causal. You are causal because you are interested in the causes. To reach the goal, you are predetermined. But Sarah Sarasvati said, when you want to innovate, you are not supposed to be causal, but effectual. Effectual means you don't have any objective. You just open your fridge and look at what you have. And when you look at what you have, you do some things, frugal things, with no money, with no time, frugal things. And after that, of course, it's just a bad solution because you have done that in few days. So after that, you just are focusing yourself on the effect, and that's why it is calling effectuation, on the effect of what you do. And after that, through this path that is called serendipity as well, and probably you have already heard this word, you reach a goal you have never predetermined before. So this is effectuation, and I think that in the French ecosystem now we are more effectual and not too much causal. So these are the good news, but maybe we have some bad news or well, negative points or some points we have to improve. And maybe the first one is the relationship between startups and large companies. I mean, let me give you an example. If you consider all the types of relationship between startups and large companies, it doesn't work too much. Let me give you the corporate incubators. So when you are a large company, you know that, well, just because I'm a researcher, I like an article from the scientific literatures, and there is a great article which was written by James March, and the name of the title of the article is Exploration versus Exploitation in Organizational Learnings. So it means that the question of James March is, when you are a large company, is it possible for you to explore, and is it possible in the same time to exploit? And of course it's difficult. So in a lot of companies, they consider that if you want to explore, it's nice to be close to the startup ecosystem because they explore very well. And after that, after the exploration stage, we can exploit like a proof of concept and stuff like that. So when you ask a large company, what are the reasons why you create this corporate incubator? And the large company can say, okay, just to learn. Because we know that we have a lot of things to explore and we are not that good to do that. So we open the corporate incubators, we welcome startups just to explore. But the problem is that a startup is not there in a pedagogical aim to teach the large company. So let's consider a bank, and a bank knows that there is a lot of things about blockchains, Web3, decentralized finance, and maybe they can open an incubator and just learn from that. But I think it's not a good way to learn, especially for startups. And let me give you another example of the problem. Large companies struggle to acquire startups because I think the main problem is that they consider that when they acquire startups, they acquire a digital asset. But you know, a startup is not a digital asset, or it's not only an audience. It's a DNA that is perfectly illustrated by the founders. So if the founder left, even with the earn-out procedures and things like that, so we have a lot of failures in terms of startup acquisition. I think that we could do better. And the last, last point that is negative is that in France, we had a very intensive, a massive mediatization of entrepreneurship. It means that, let me give you, we have a TV show. The name of the TV show is Who Wants to Be My Associate or My Partner? And so we have a lot of press, a lot of media. Well, a lot of people talk about entrepreneurship. And the problem is that when you have too much people who talk about something, you have some conceptual approximation. Let me give you an example. If I ask a French guy from a startup or from a large company or from or a student, what is your definition of Uberization or description? He will have a very nice definition, but I will have another one, and a person in the street will have another one. So we have the same vocab, we use the same words, but we don't put the same reality beyond these words. So I think that we can be more, well, if we want to improve in terms of entrepreneurship, probably we should be more precise with the vocab we use, like Uberization, description, and things like that. So we use the same vocab, like minimum viable product, proof of concept, and things like that, but we could have a better understanding of what it covers. So, so two good news and two bad news. I don't know if I was too long or short.
No, that's all right. And that's all right, Thomas. Thank you very much. I would have you one question, because Marcus van Tilburg explained a bit also that some regions may be better for specific fields of the industry. Would you say that for France as well, that there are some regional specifications startups should be aware of before coming?
As you said before my presentation, Paris is maybe the best place to innovate, because all the venture capitalists are in Paris. You have a big market because the city is like maybe 5 million persons. So of course Paris. And if you want to come in France, if you want some arguments to come in France and to come in Paris, maybe you can have 3 arguments, because I think it was the question of Marcus. And maybe the first one is that you will have a lot of support from every players of the ecosystem. There is something what we call the pay it forward culture. It means that we give you a lot of advices without no expectation about any return on investment, about what you want. So I think that we are very good. There is a good willing about entrepreneurship. So I think you will have a lot of support from players from the ecosystem. I think that if you launch a deep tech company, so it means that I think we have a great network of talents, engineers. So our universities are great. We have a Nobel Prize in physics, Alain Aspect, in mathematics, in terms of strong sciences. I think we have a lot of talents. And of course, the last point, maybe if you want to come in France, you will have money for sure, because we give some money. I mean, public money and private money. But this, well, like from BPI, so this is the public bank that help entrepreneurs, but this money will be smart. I mean, it's important, because this is what we call smart money, because now VCs, they are coming from everywhere in the world. You have a great knowledge, and they will be very helpful for your business. So this is not only the amount of money you will raise, but you will have smart money, because now we have some alumni from the YC, from the United States, they are French, and now they come back. So now the knowledge is spread all over the players, even in the VC world. So you will have money, but smart money.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I noticed we didn't say anything to the German-French Academy in the introduction. We skipped that part to give you the word as soon as possible for our participants to really go straight into or deep into the thematic. I just wanted for my side to explain a bit what the Academy is, because yeah, that's the institution I'm representing today. I'm Diane Baumer, and I'm working for the German-French Academy for the Industry of the Future since October 22. The Academy is a strategical partnership between two leading European academic institutions. You have on the German side the Technical University of Munich, and on the French side you have the Institut Mines Télécom. The GFA, so German-French Academy, was founded in October 2015 by Emmanuel Macron and Sigmar Gabriel, who were the former economics ministers. And its purpose is to strengthen the relation between both countries, of course, but also, and more importantly, to accelerate digital transformation of the industry. So it is a platform that brings together the best experts from the French and German ecosystem in the field of Industry 4.0, especially coming from our institutions. And we not only work with academic institutions, but also have strong cooperations with strategic partners such as Airbus, Ariane Group, Atos, Siemens, or BMW Group, for example. So far, we've supported 27 research projects involving about 170 researchers. So that makes the GFA the biggest ecosystem of researchers in these two countries in the field of the Industry 4.0. And yeah, we not only work in the research field, but also in education, industry and innovation field. And yeah, we want to support cross-border startup development. And this is mainly the reason why we organize this event and these discussions today. And we hope we manage to give the participants some insights about the cultures, to show the differences, as we mentioned at the beginning. And yeah, to help them in their choice, maybe to move abroad and to found a startup there. So thanks again all for your thoughts and insights. It was really, really helpful. If you don't mind, I would just have a question. Maybe I would like to ask, or to be. Maybe I'll keep that for later and give the word to Marcus. I'll ask the question afterwards in the second part.
No, you can ask it right away if you want to. That's fine.
I heard about the Y Combinator, and I know Thomas, who you talked about it also. I had the time to make some research, and I just wanted to know if, because it seems to be quite big in the US, I wanted to ask if for Thomas or maybe Nicolas or Fabian, if in other countries, in France or Germany, for instance, there are also some existing models to support startups in the same way the Y Combinator would do, to kind of build a kind of, I wouldn't say elite startups, but to really push them forward.
I mean, if you allow me, I will speak a little bit about Munich and Bavaria. So French Tech Munich has a really strong collaboration with Invest in Bavaria. You probably all know Invest in Bavaria. I mean, a person who lived in Munich or who worked in Munich. So Invest in Bavaria is a public agency helping all kind of companies coming from abroad to establish in Bayern. And I must admit that I'm really impressed by the Start Aussie program they launch, because we support quite a lot of French startups to go through this program. So this program, if I'm not wrong, it's a 2-month program offering co-working space, offering coaching, offering a large access to all kind of suppliers, like legal suppliers, recruitment suppliers. So it's really a great program for, and I think there's also cultural trainee programs. So I can really, for French or other kind of startup wants to establish in Bayern to launch and to use this program. Thomas, I let maybe from your part.
Yes, in Paris you have something that is called Station F. So we have a great entrepreneur. His name is Xavier Niel, and he's the founder of one of the main telecom operator in France that is called Free. And he spent a lot of money to have a big building with a lot of entrepreneurs. So I don't know the number of entrepreneurs, but maybe it's around 2,000 or 3,000 entrepreneurs in the same place. And of course, that's great because it's not only a question of real estate, it's a question of networking. And when you want to launch something and your clients are startups as well, like a B2B business, and your clients are startups, it's very good. So you have a kind of cross-fertilization between startups, and that goes for the best. But I think that the foundation of the Y Combinator is very different from what we do in Paris, because I think that they have no office, and this is only mentoring, and this is only speech to inspire entrepreneurs, and it's very important for Paul Graham. So now he is not head of Y Combinator. I think it's I don't remember the name of the new head of YC. But I think it's they give a very important. Well, it's very important to execute. I mean, they think that if you stay in the stage of the ID, it's nothing, because ID is worth nothing, and that's why there are some milestones, and you always come and you have to execute and just show what you did, and they try to increase your learning curve. So I think that we should be more inspiring by the YC in Paris, because we think that just by making the entrepreneurs together, it's gonna be great. We need stronger mentorship, stronger advice, but we have a big place for that, and now we should just put the cream above.
Fabian, do you also want to add something to that, or?
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to agree with Nicolas, of course, with the Invest in Bavaria program, which is extremely nice. One of the strengths of Munich is actually that there's not just one program you need to participate and then you're in, let's say, but there are several institutions that offer very high level possibilities. So the standard journey for a startup, I'd say, is not just to go one route, but to go several routes after another. You can basically adjust depending on the state where you are to which program you should go, with some guidance, because some are very good in the very early stages, other for the later ones. Yeah, so you can make your own journey. Actually, I think this is one thing that makes Munich kind of very good. Yeah, so I think this I can add to Nicolas' comment.
Thank you very much. So I was just looking at the clock and I realized, oh my God, it's already almost 20 to 7. So in Germany, I'm not exactly sure. It's probably 6 hours behind in New York City. So I'd like to thank all of you for your time. And just to sum up real quickly, I think we learned a lot tonight from your different inputs. For everyone who's interested in joining the startup world, so to speak. So I think the most important thing is do your research and do your homework and see where the best place to start your project is. And if you have the impression it's Munich, then reach out to Fabian and Nicolas, I guess. If you think it's Paris, then Thomas is your guy to talk to. And if it's the United States, you should definitely reach out to the AHK and maybe Susanne Gellert. If you're into anything that's available in Fairfax County, and if you think this is the place you need to go to, it's really nice. Actually, it's close to Washington D.C., which is an amazing city. Of course, New York is as well, but it's still a little bit more expensive, I guess. So these are all exciting places, and these are all great opportunities to go to. And if you have any questions regarding these different regions and locations, I'm pretty sure that you can reach out to all of the persons that were available for us tonight and get more information on that. So thank you again for all your inputs, and thank you for watching us tonight, and have a great evening or a great day in the case of New York City. So thank you very much and good night. And I'm gonna stop the live stream.